Hey everyone, rather than my usual laborious time-consuming process, this is going to be a quick and hopefully short video touching on the events of the Energon Universe 2025 special. I'm going to try to keep it a little light and easy. And just as a heads up, this video will contain spoilers for the aforementioned special as well as G.I. Joe number 6. So with that out of the way, let's begin. Another year, another free comic book day, which means it's time for another Energon Universe special. The 2024 special served as something of a preview for the second year of the Energon Universe. So, as you'd expect, the special this year is giving us a taste for what's in store for year 3. And one of the biggest things about this upcoming year, oh man, you guys, it's huge. It's the introduction of a fan favorite Transformers character. Yes, Wheelie makes his debut in the Energon universe at long last, to much fanfare and rejoicing. No, look, I'm kidding. No shade to Wheelie fans. Personally, I was happy to see him, even if I do find the rhyming gimmick a little annoying. Overall, Wheelie's great. But look, obviously I'm talking about Hound. He's the big one here. And technically, this isn't the first place we saw him, as he first appeared at the end of G.I. Joe number 6. In the Energon Universe 2025 special, we get some more time with him. This issue sees the formation of what I hope will be an enduring partnership between Clutch and Hound. We start off with a bit of a flashback where we see Hound falling out of the Ark, but unlike Beachcomber, Hound crashes on Earth where he remains deactivated until Jetfire reveals the Ark in issue 1 of Transformers, which sends out a signal or something that wakes Hound up, I guess. I don't know. Specifics unclear. That's kind of par for the course here with this continuity, but it doesn't really matter too much because what's important is that we've got Hound in the Energon universe, the James Stewart of Transformers characters.
That's a hologram, Spike. It isn't real.
And it seems like he may be playing a significant role, which makes me very happy indeed, especially if he's going to end up being a regular in the G.I. Joe title. I mentioned earlier that this is where Hound and Clutch form an alliance, and that's true, but it gets off to a rough start, with Hound in Clutch's face demanding answers about how humans have Energon, to which Clutch responds by attacking Hound, the two exchanging fire before Hound decides to nope out of the whole thing. But as he's transforming, Clutch hits him with some kind of Cobra bomb that immobilizes Hound, rendering the Autobot scout stuck mid-transformation. After exchanging some words where Hound explains he was only trying to get information, a perhaps too trusting Clutch begins to regret his actions and decides to help out the Autobot. However, he can't take Hound back to G.I. Joe for repairs, so he visits an old buddy. And this right here was probably the biggest shock in the entire book, because Clutch's friend is Matt Tracker from Mask. What? I have no idea if this is just a wink and a nod or Skybound showing their cards for future plans, but I have mixed feelings about this reveal, honestly. I like how tight the Energon universe is right now, and the idea of doing the whole Hasbroverse thing in the vein of how IDW did it, I don't know. Like I said, I have mixed feelings if that is the intention, but ultimately, I'm keeping an open mind, and there's no doubt that this was a surprise, especially because Kirkman and company have been downplaying the inclusion of other Hasbro properties when they've been questioned on it. I don't know. Let me know if you all are excited for Mask apparently being a thing in this universe, or if you're like me and have a few reservations about it. I'm not against it per se. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, Tracker fixes up Hound just in time for Ravage to come busting in, who was apparently tracking the Energon weapons that Clutch stole from Cobra. And Megatron really didn't wait long before putting Ravage back to work after reactivating him, did he? And this is a cool little fight sequence that calls back to Hound's antagonistic relationship with Soundwave's cassettes in the More Than Meets the Eye miniseries of the G1 cartoon. Now, if we can just get him facing off with Laserbeak and Rumble, we'll be 3 for 3. Anyway, after a brief skirmish, Hound chases Ravage off. Tracker is shuffled off back into the sidelines, and Hound and Clutch have a bit of a do-over, exchanging some information and forming, again, what I hope will be a long-running partnership. But that's not where the G.I. Joe thread ends just yet, as we cut to the Florida swamps, where we see that Buzzer of the Dreadnoks has decimated a group of Cobra soldiers who are trying to cart off the rest of the Dreadnought's Energon. Buzzer apparently has had his chainsaw grafted to his arm, which got sliced off during the encounter with Nemesis Enforcer, I guess. Honestly, it's been a while. I forgot that even happened. Anyway, Buzzer and presumably the rest of the Dreadnoughts, minus Ripper for obvious reasons, have declared war on Cobra, which I don't have a lot to say about other than please proceed. I imagine this is building up to the reveal of Zartan, so yeah, lots to look forward to on that front. But that's it for the G.I. Joe side of it. Now we're going to jump ahead to the Void Rivals story, and there's not that much to this story in the special. A lot of it is just the Quintessons talking to each other and going over information we already know, or that was already hinted at. But it's still a fun little story that gives us a sneak peek of new artist Conor Hughes' work. Hughes will be taking over Void Rivals starting in issue 19, and I think his work is solid enough, but there's no denying I'm still lamenting Lorenzo De Felici leaving the book. He's just the perfect guy for that book, what can I say? Regardless, the dark, moody atmosphere still comes through here, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Hughes can do with a more interesting and substantial issue. While the Quintessons are talking about the Sacred Ring and Goliant and Zerta Trion, Wheelie and some of the other prisoners stage an escape, which if these are existing characters, help me out here because I have no idea who they are. But once they've gotten out, they realize something is wrong because the Quintessons call their Sharkticons back after only capturing a few of them. And that's because the Quintessons have something else on their plate, war with the Sacred Ring. And we get a teaser at the very end that says the Quintesson War begins in Void Rivals number 25. It's quite a tease for half a year from now. Mark your calendars. Still, it's exciting nonetheless. And that's really all I have to say about that one. It was fine. The other story in the special is placed second in the order, but I saved it for last because I very much enjoyed it. So this is on the Transformers side of things, and we see Daniel Warren Johnson returning to draw a story that, I'm not sure where it fits into the timeline yet because we see Optimus fully repaired with both of his arms and on Earth, because Optimus loses his arm in issue 3 right before Jazz comes online. But anyway, it doesn't matter. This is less about contributing to the current threads and continuity and all of that stuff, and it's more about giving Jazz a moment to shine. The story starts off with Jazz playing keyboards in a Cybertronic Spree-esque band at some undefined point in Cybertron's past, but after annoying his bandmates with his elaborate keyboard solos for the final time, he is abruptly kicked out. We get a sense of Jazz being a bit of an outcast here. He's misunderstood both by his former bandmates, who wanted him to play much simpler music, and by Optimus Prime, who is unsure what Jazz is trying to express when he says listening to signals and transmissions from beyond Cybertron is like finding a new question to ask. While Jazz finds beauty in the transmissions, Optimus hears only a cacophony. Artistically, Jazz is adventurous and curious about the new and the unknown. He's always looking for his next big obsession, something I personally can relate to. And that is apparently something that sets him apart from his fellow Autobots, who seem to be a bit more fixed in their ways. Much later on Earth, Jazz hears music coming from a cocktail lounge. Listening to those jazz musicians perform, it's clear by the art and the text that Jazz has found some solace in locating like-minded artists at last. This calls to mind Jazz's G1 tech spec about loving Earth culture, but it's also just a nice, lighthearted story that makes the character that much more endearing. This almost feels like something that could exist out of continuity. It was really nice. This might not be the sort of story that people wanted to see with Daniel Warren Johnson returning to art duties, but I'm glad that we got this personally. Yeah, the 2025 special contains a lot of stuff setting up things to look forward to, but with this story, it also gives us just kind of a one-off tale to enjoy in the here and now. Doesn't have to connect to any bigger picture things. It's just a nice little character moment. Anyway, that's it. Like I said, I wanted this to be quick, and it already ran longer than I intended, so I'm going to get out of here. But let me know your thoughts on the issue if you picked it up. Thanks for taking the time to watch this, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Goodbye.